Fallout 4 is pretty much real now, which is really, really exciting for myself because I was a big fan of New Vegas and Fallout 3, so I'm looking forward to seeing where Bethesda take Fallout 4. But me and Ghost Robo decided to discuss the locations, the characters, how the game will feel in next gen and stuff. So I hope you guys enjoy the video, and I'll let it play.
With me. So basically, Kotaku, one of their writers, Jason Schreier, got some documents basically confirming Fallout 4 and confirming Boston as the location. They found some casting calls and different things that seem to very definitely say this game is in the works and it's set in Boston. That whole website thing with a countdown was a hoax. That wasn't real at all, and obviously there was no appearance of the game at the VGX or at anything like that. But the pieces of information we do have are that it exists, it's coming, and it's set in Boston. As a huge Fallout fan, like we just said, what do you think about that?
I'm a bit disappointed by Boston. I don't think, to me, there's not like a iconic venues in Boston or anything like that. I would have preferred it perhaps being in Europe or something, like London, Paris, Tokyo even, just something, even New York or something, just something that's got sort of something to look at almost. I think Boston's a bit low-key. I'm pretty offending people watching this, but I don't really think of Boston as like it's got anything there that I want to go and look at.
No, I can definitely agree with you there, and Boston's been talked about for a long time. You know, ever since 3, there was constant chatter about like when's the next true Fallout sequel. And a little bit later, I want to get your take on New Vegas, but whenever they would bring up Boston, I was like, I've been to Boston multiple times. I can't think of where would be fun to go around there. And sure, local people can reel off tons of exciting locations that would be interesting, but here's my bigger gripe with it. You know, we're entering a new generation with tons of new tech, tons of new graphical capabilities. To me, just setting it in another East Coast city seems so boring and like such a, I don't want to say excuse, but a way for them to use very similar looking environments as Fallout 3.
I mean, they could have had like New York. I know that's on the East Coast as well, but New York has just towering like skyscrapers. It's got iconic elements in that sort of New York area that's just like, oh my god. You got like LA we could have perhaps used, maybe. Just I think there's a lot more interesting places to go to. And obviously London, I said, there's just so many iconic, traditional, like crazy places to go, like Big Ben and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I don't know, it's just better locations, I think.
I think it would have been awesome if they would have set it in Europe or somewhere even more unique. You know, you have great lore there, you have a great story, and basically free reign to take it anywhere. They could have said, we're going to take this to space. You know, they really could have redefined the borders of Fallout and expanded as far as they wanted. And to me, just keeping it literally almost a neighboring state to Fallout 3 just seems so there's no risk there. There's no.
Is it more to do with the story in a way the sort of the cities perhaps linked together or something? I don't know. I know Boston was one of the first, I think, cities ever to be like Americanized, I guess, or turned into America. Boston was one of the first cities that sort of came up. But is that perhaps that's why it's linked together with like the Fallout 3 or something? I don't know. It's like perhaps it's linked in some way.
I guess. I just think that. Yeah, you might be right. You might be right in terms of they want to stick with this very, very good fiction that they've established and keep it going in a kind of linear fashion. I just think, it was exciting to me when they branched out and said, we're going West Coast, we're going to New Vegas. And to me, New Vegas was a much more expansive game. It felt like there was a larger overall area. Like, you could walk between many different locations that had different feels. And I guess that's what I would like to see. And I don't know how they're going to accomplish that if it's strictly set in Boston.
Yeah. I mean, perhaps, I don't know, perhaps they travel between different locations or something and make it a little bit more interesting. But obviously we've heard about Boston, and that seems to be the main city at the moment, doesn't it? So I don't know, like you said, it's not really, I mean, is Boston quite high up and stuff? Is it got like tall buildings, or is it?
I mean, it's a big city. I just can't think of, like we're saying, you have, in DC, there was all those very recognizable monuments, and in Vegas, you've got the Strip that was like, that was the place to get to, and I can't think of anything that dramatic for Boston. Now, as someone who you said you've beat 3 so many times and whatnot, did you feel that Vegas was a good location choice? The fact that it was more spread out and seemed to have more pockets of activity, did you like that?
I think it worked quite well. I mean, there's like you said, like little pockets of like locations. I think it worked quite well with the sand and desert and stuff. I think it just sort of fitted the sort of theme of the game and the sort of the approach of the last game. A lot of people prefer the story of Vegas, but I just fell more in love with Fallout 3. So that's why I'm quite hopeful for the next Fallout 4, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think
Yeah.
maybe this is a huge ruse, and it would be great if Todd Howard is just masterminding this, and you start out in Boston, and then you have to get out of there fast because the radiation is too severe, and you take a jet to Russia or somewhere, like this big bait and switch would be beautiful. But another thing it brings to mind is, if they are developing this for next gen, are they delaying it till say 2016 so they can really get a grip on next gen, or are they saying, okay, we're going to do Boston something familiar so we can get it out quickly before we fully have our heads wrapped around PS4 and Xbox One?
I reckon the team's big enough to make something very, very ambitious and make it very, very good. So I don't think they've gone, oh, Boston is easier for us, perhaps. I don't know. I think it just fits, though, like I said, the sort of locations just sort of linked together in some way. I can't imagine Todd Howard going, well, this makes their life easier, so let's do the Boston. I don't know.
Well, that's good.
His approach.
That's probably true and good. I'm one who, in games, I like to see them go very crazy places. I would like things to go almost insane in some ways, and because of the nature of Fallout and the fact that it isn't so grounded, it's grounded in the United States and whatnot, but they have a lot of freedoms that they can say, oh, this was because of explosions, or this was because people had to evacuate, or mutants, or whatever, or vaults that got whatever. I feel like you have so much creative freedom to really do something totally unique, and I don't know. My hope is that there's multiple locations, but if there are, I can't see them being hugely far apart. Maybe multiple areas within Boston or that northeast region, but it's as sad as it is to say, I can't see them saying, okay, the first half of the game's Boston, the second half is London, although that would be amazing.
But I mean, that's not gonna happen. But I think perhaps different cities in America in some way, where you almost like an Assassin's Creed thing, where you sort of travel sort of through somewhere, and it sort of takes you to the other city. It's like you're walking there or something. But that could work in some way. Perhaps just link cities together, but have 3 different cities to visit while you're sort of free roaming.
Yeah, and in terms of shifting it more towards gameplay, what are you hoping to get, I guess, out of a new Fallout? And would you be satisfied with just a prettier Fallout 3/New Vegas, or do you want them to expand or change some things about the game? Because for me, I really like the game.
Yeah.
I feel like the structure of it has yet to really reach its perfect form, and I feel that way about a lot of open world, massive Western RPGs. But as somebody who is way more versed in this, what is your take?
I mean, when I played it Fallout 3 at the time, I thought that was almost like perfection, but at the time. But obviously, over time, you sort of pick out little bits that you sort of notice. I guess for that time, physically, the game didn't look particularly that well, did it? I mean, I'd be interested to see how the graphics look in trailers and stuff. If they really just blow us away, or whether it's very good PS3 graphics, but the world's just massive. But things I just want more options to pick from, more different stats and stuff. I guess I'd like them to sort of keep the character of the game, like the VATS. I want that to come back.
So you are a big fan of VATS, the stop and go shooting.
Yeah, I like the thing where you where you stop and you can literally select a part. I think that works quite well, because it's not, unless they make it into a perfect shooter, which I think is going to be hard for them to do. That's why I think the VATS exists, because it wasn't a perfect shooter. I guess it was more of a very tactile shoot, where it's just aim and fire at something.
I guess I would like to see them clean the game up a bit. I feel like it's very ambitious, and perhaps it was more shaky because it is so ambitious, but I feel like there's so much clunk in that game. The animations, the characters, you're able to do the third person shooting, but it's so...
As an age wise, it feels old now to me when I play it.
And I imagine that they would try and really work on that side of things, the actual, how you can shoot in real time, because that's, if they want to make this a huge deal, they sort of have to go in the direction, right? What do you think?
Almost like a Metro, I guess, than that, to be that good at shooting, I reckon. That's the game I always come back to, because that game looked incredible. Metro was set in a sort of similar atmosphere. If they can really push it and make that kind of open world that almost looks as good as that would be just incredible. But
what do you think about them implementing some of the more dynamic nature of Skyrim and things like that, now that they have so much more power with the cloud and ability to sort of put in all these systems that weren't just physically possible before? Because to me, it's a very static game. You go here and the people feel very static, and everything feels... I don't know. For me, I didn't get as much of a lifelike feel from that game as I have from others.
No, it's very robotic at times, and when you like talk to a character, it's like blah, blah, blah. It's like talking to a robot almost, where the animations aren't great. That's why I think they need to sort of step forward and make it like you're sort of in the world, I guess. I know you're sort of talking to real people. Your decisions make hopefully big effects in the game as well. I think that's something they need to continue with, where your decisions matter towards like the sort of end game, I guess.
Sure.
That's what I don't know.
And one thing that I would love to see in these kind of games is like dynamic events that are really cinematic in nature. So the one I think of a lot is the Last of Us opening sequence where you're escaping out of the city with your daughter and people are freaking out. They're running everywhere. They're falling over each other. They're crashing. You have a real opportunity with a total wasteland game where everybody is struggling to have something like that happen. And it feels like in Fallout 3 and New Vegas, a lot of the decisions would be very binary. And then you go to a city like the Megaton thing, like either it's there or it's not. And like, okay, it's basically like they erased that or they put it there. It doesn't feel very lived in, I guess. I don't know. I would love to see, okay, oh my God, you nuked this city, even taking that same example, and then people are just, you see all of a sudden thousands of people running across the desert or some just take.
So you want to take the sort of almost like the story aspects of sort of Last of Us, that sort of cutscene-ish sort of atmosphere where it's sort of like set up almost, where perhaps Fallout 3 was more like go here, shoot this, come back and get your reward sort of thing. Perhaps make it like you said, like people run in and just make it a little bit more like you're in the situation almost.
I think there's an opportunity to create a game that is much more. You can still have it be open, still pick your own characters, still pick all your stats and traits, and even have tons of side missions, but less go talk to character X and then go to point Y, return to character X, and maybe try to make it a little more cinematic. Because even though people are afraid of like, oh, we don't want it to be linear and have these set pieces, there still are set pieces in those games. There's still major missions and events that you had to do and see. It's just, I think about Fallout 3 and I guess if people haven't played it, I feel like it's so old. That last mission where you're walking with the giant, like, man, that's so...
Oh, that's the DLC, isn't it? Is it the DLC?
I think it's isn't it just the ending of Fallout 3 before you...
No, that's the DLC content, I think. But I know what you mean, yeah.
Anyways,
metal thing, yeah.
The point I was trying to make is just there's no way that game could ever compare to something like The Last of Us or a BioShock Infinite or even a Skyrim to an extent of feeling. I don't know. I just think there's a way to combine the two types of games into something and make it super special.
For me, like when I play Fallout, I think it's probably one of the games of this generation for me. But again, it's not perfect in any way. Like you said, it needs to sort of take things from other games and make it a little bit more, just like more approachable, almost like a AAA game that's, I don't know, it's really hard to explain. Like you said, it's like a combination of Last of Us, but then Fallout, and then just sort of combining it to make a really epic experience.
Absolutely.
So just being like point A to B, like you said.
My last question for you is, would you like to see a class system, or do you think it's better to have a blank slate character and then you kind of go from there? I wonder if they're going to try and introduce any sort of co-op. Do you think that's on the horizon or no?
I hope not, but I think they will try and do something like that. Perhaps I always like the sort of the Fable thing where you sort of see people like walking around or something. That'd be quite cool. Where you sort of, like, I can't imagine co-op working though. For me personally, I like a single player experience. There's always this focus about multiplayer and co-op. I think games like Fallout should focus purely on the single player experience for me. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Smack it with a like if you did. I'm really excited for Fallout 4, so I'll be trying to cover it in some format when we hear some more official news. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. So just let me know in the comments what you guys are excited to see from Fallout 4 in the comments below. Bye bye.